19 iconic British meals nobody eats anymore. Your great-grandfather didn't eat kale smoothies. He didn't sip on flat whites or nibble avocado toast. He came home from a 12-hour shift in the mines, the mills, or the factories, covered in soot and sweat. And what did he eat? Food so tough, so greasy, so unapologetically heavy that most restaurants today would be shut down if they served it. But here's the twist. Those meals didn't just fill bellies. They powered the men and women who built Britain. They were born out of survival, out of poverty, out of sheer grit. And today, we've almost forgotten them. In this video, we're digging into 19 iconic British meals nobody eats anymore. Some will make your mouth water. Some will make your stomach turn. But every single one tells the story of how ordinary families kept going when times were brutally hard. And by the end, I'll challenge you. Which of these dishes would you actually dare to eat today? Number 1, shepherd's pie. Scraps turned into salvation. Shepherd's pie wasn't about prime lamb cuts or organic veg. It was about survival. Leftover mutton. The tough, chewy stuff rich folks didn't want. Got minced up, tossed with vegetables that were one step away from rotting, and buried under a thick lid of mashed potato. That potato wasn't decoration. It was insulation, locking in heat so dinner stayed piping hot even when Dad came home late from the pub. Slow cooking turned hard meat into gelatin-rich gravy, thicker and more nourishing than any protein shake. Families didn't waste a crumb, and somehow, what began as scraps became a feast that could feed 6 hungry mouths. Would you eat it today, or would you turn your nose up at the tough meat that made your ancestors strong? Number 2, toad in the hole. 3 sausages, 8 people. How do you make it work? You drown them in Yorkshire pudding batter. Flour, eggs, milk, and the cheapest ingredients you could buy. Suddenly puffed into a golden, steaming cathedral of carbs. When that cold batter hit screaming hot fat, it exploded into air pockets, trapping steam, ballooning in size. The sausages looked tiny, but the dish looked huge. Kids thought it was magic. Parents knew it was survival. The batter soaked up every drop of sausage fat, every drip of flavour, and turned a meagre portion into a banquet. This wasn't dinner. This was illusion. Poverty disguised as plenty. Number 3, Lancashire hot pot. Industrial Britain ran on hot pot. Mill workers' wives prepped it at dawn, layering lamb scraps, onions and potatoes into one heavy pot. Then they dropped it at the local bakery before heading to 12-hour shifts in the mills. All day long, while looms thundered and machines roared, that pot simmered in the fading heat of the bread ovens. By nightfall, magic had happened. Bottom potatoes soaked up juices until they were almost buttery. The meat fell off the bone. The onions melted into a sweet, sticky jam. The top layer crisped golden brown. 1 penny's worth of ingredients, a full day of residual oven heat, and a perfect dinner was waiting when the whistle blew. That's efficiency. That's working-class genius. Number 4, steak and kidney pie. While the wealthy sneered at organ meats, the poor saw treasure. Kidneys were cheap, packed with more protein, iron and B vitamins than any superfood pill today. Toss them with tough beef scraps, bury them in flaky lard pastry, and you had a pie fit for royalty at the price of scraps. The pastry wasn't just tasty, it was armour, sealing in gravy, keeping it rich and hot for hours. And here's the kicker. The pie tasted better the next day. Families could stretch it for 2, sometimes 3 meals. 1 pie, endless nourishment. Today, most people flinch at kidneys. Back then, they were power food. Number 5, Cornish pasty, the miner's lunchbox, thick pastry, crimped edges, initials carved on top so you didn't grab someone else's underground. The crust wasn't really meant to be eaten. It was a handle, a dirty hand's grip, tossed aside after the filling was gone. Half the pasty could be savoury, a meat potato swede. The other half a sweet, jam or apple. 2 meals in one, wrapped in an edible container that stayed warm for hours, 500 feet underground. Forget plastic Tupperware. This was Victorian engineering in pastry form. A pasty wasn't just food, it was survival gear. Number 6. Ploughman's lunch bread. Cheese, pickles, that's it. Sounds simple. It was. But for farmers spending sunrise to sunset in the fields, it was perfect fuel. That cheddar was aged and tangy, more complex than half the artisan cheeses in shops today. Pickled onions weren't just flavour. They were gut health before probiotics became trendy. And stale bread wasn't waste. It was dense, portable energy. The marketing men may have slapped the name Ploughman's on it in the 1950s, but the truth is this meal was as old as farming itself. No fuss, no prep. Just real, sustaining food that could sit in your pocket all day. Number 7. Sunday roast. For many families, Sunday was the only day meat hit the table. A single joint of beef, pork or lamb stretched far beyond Sunday night. The fat was saved, the drippings fried eggs and potatoes later in the week, and the bones became soup. It wasn't indulgence, it was strategy. That roast fed the family for 8 days in some form. Eggs fried in beef drippings tasted like luxury. Potatoes roasted in that fat turned golden and crisp. Soup made from the bones carried you through Wednesday. Modern meal prep influencers brag about efficiency. But our grandparents, they mastered it long before Instagram. Number 8. Bubble and squeak. Monday wasn't leftovers, it was rebirth. All the vegetables from Sunday's roast. Carrots, sprouts, cabbage, potatoes, mashed together, fried in fat until sizzling. The sound gave it its name. Bubbling, squeaking in the pan. The edges caramelized into crispy brown perfection, while the inside stayed creamy. Somehow it always tasted better than the original roast. Kids begged for it. Parents smiled because it cost nothing. Today, chefs dress it up and charge £15 for root vegetable hash. Back then, it was just Monday night survival. Number 9. Black pudding, blood, oats, fat. That's it. But this wasn't horror food, it was power food. Black pudding was loaded with more iron than spinach, more protein than chicken, and enough B vitamins to keep men swinging hammers for 16 hours straight. The blood was stirred constantly while cooking to stop it clotting. The oats stretched it further. The fat carried flavour. For many families it was breakfast, lunch or both. Some call it disgusting, others call it delicious. But no one can deny it kept workers going when there was no room for weakness. Number 10. Faggots and peas. Nothing went to waste. Hearts, livers, lungs. Minced up, mixed with breadcrumbs, wrapped in caul fat, and baked into meatballs called faggots. Served hot with peas, cold in sandwiches, even crumbled into soups. One batch could stretch for days. Organ meats weren't poverty. They were power. More vitamin A than carrots. More B12 than any pill. More protein than steak. Rich folks might have thrown them out, but the poor turned them into delicacies of survival. Number 11. Jam roly-poly. Imagine coming home after 16 hours of crushing, back-breaking labour. Your body doesn't want kale, it wants sugar, fat, and sheer caloric force. That's what jam roly-poly delivered. Sweet pastry rolled with jam, steamed until soft, dense, and sticky. One serving, nearly 1,000 calories, enough energy to replace an entire meal. Sweet gave slow-burning fuel, jam gave fast sugars, and steaming created a spongy texture no oven could match. Kids loved it. Adults needed it. It wasn't dessert. It was survival fuel disguised as pudding. Number 12. Fish and chips. Fast food before the Americans claimed the phrase. Cheap white fish, dipped in batter, fried golden, paired with thick-cut chips. Wrapped in yesterday's newspaper, it stayed hot on the walk home while the paper soaked up grease. The genius. That batter wasn't just crunch, it was insulation, keeping the fish moist inside. Malt vinegar wasn't just flavour, it helped digestion. For pennies you had portable protein that filled stomachs and lifted spirits. Britain's first true takeaway wasn't glamorous, but it was glorious. Number 13. Bangers and mash. Sausages so cheap they exploded in the pan. Water, bread, mystery meat. Packed together so tightly they went bang when cooked. But resourceful cooks didn't care. They paired them with creamy mashed potatoes, an onion gravy, and suddenly wartime scraps became comfort food. That onion gravy wasn't optional. It was liquid gold. Sweet caramelized onions, thickened with sausage drippings, transformed filler into feast. Today, chefs serve gourmet sausages with mash. Back then, families made do with whatever didn't explode. Number 14. Spotted dick. Ignore the name for a second. This steamed pudding was a powerhouse. Sweat dough, speckled with dried fruit, steamed for hours until rich and moist. Each bite was dense, sweet, and packed with slow-release energy. One pudding could feed a family for 2 meals. Dried fruit delivered concentrated sugars, sweet packed in the calories, and steaming required nothing but boiling water and patience. In an age where men burned 4,000 calories a day, this wasn't indulgence. It was fuel, disguised as dessert. Number 15. Welsh rarebit. This wasn't cheese on toast, it was alchemy. Aged cheddar melted with beer and mustard, poured over bread, grilled golden. Beer deepened the flavour, mustard cut through the fat, and suddenly stale bread tasted like fine dining. It was cheap, it was quick, and it turned leftovers into luxury. Today you might call it pub grub. Back then it was wizardry in the kitchen. Number 16. Peas pudding and saveloys. North East England swore by it. Split peas boiled into a thick yellow paste, paired with cheap spicy Savoy sausages. It was filling, packed with protein, and cost next to nothing. For miners and shipbuilders, it was eaten several times a week. For kids, it was comfort. Today, peas pudding is rare outside its home region, but back then, it was the taste of industrial strength. Number 17. Cow heel stew. Nothing wasted. Not even a cow's heel. Cheap, gelatin-rich, simmered for hours with onions and carrots until it turned into thick, sticky broth. It looked unappetizing. It smelled strong. But it fed families for pennies. Cow heel stew was common near big cities with slaughterhouses where odd cuts were easy to find. As wages rose, it disappeared. But for a time, it was pure survival in a pot. Number 18. Tripe and onions. The most divisive dish in Britain. Tripe. The cow's stomach lining. Boiled with onions and milk. Soft, rubbery. Slightly bitter. Some adored it. Many despised it. Northern towns had entire shops selling nothing but tripe. For decades, it was cheap protein for those who couldn't afford better. By the 1970s, it was all but gone. Today, it's more a punchline than a meal, but once, it was a lifeline.